Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Break. Here at the Greece Public Library, we are doing another Winter Reading Challenge bingo. Yay! And my fellow librarian Anne-Marie and I are here to give you some suggestions to get you started. We've got some great prizes this time.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we've got 2 gift certificates for the grand prizes, one to Blue Barn Cidery, the other one to Hose 22.
Good.
Which is incidentally where we have our off-site book club, Pints and Prose. We've got some reading swag and Barnes & Noble gift cards.
Yay.
Yep. So you have until March 31st to jump in and finish. And every completed bingo that people do is considered an entry. So there are 5 prompts in each of the bingos, and some of the activities are pretty easy. Like one, watching or listening to a Book Break episode, what you're doing right now. So check off that box. Reading a magazine. And did you realize on Hoopla that you can get a binge pass and there's over 100 magazines?
So what is a binge pass?
A binge pass is just kind of like a pass to get in there and read magazines. So it's
Hoopla
instead of
usually limits you to how many things
right,
you can check out.
That's one checkout, one binge pass.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so, and they, I looked in there and they had quite a few that I recognized. The other one is enjoying a hot beverage, which
Well, yes.
Anne-Marie has.
Pumpkin spice, anybody?
Yeah,
Cheers.
I forgot mine. So,
You're drinking your cold water.
yeah, it's nice cold water. So, do you have a favorite magazine?
I used to subscribe to a bunch of them, and I kind of forgot about magazines. So I wandered over to our section when I knew we were going to do this, and I saw some old favorites. Life in the Finger Lakes, which I had forgotten all about. And, with things going out of print and such, I was really happy to see it, because that's all the local stuff that you want to know about.
Right. We've got the Adirondack one, too, which is nice if you're considering. I know a lot of people go on vacation up there from around here, so.
Right. Do we
Yeah.
have any other New York ones?
I don't know. Maybe 585 magazine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can check out. We have physical magazines to check out here, or you could do the virtual ones. So
Sounds like a deal.
another easy box to check.
Check.
So we are going to give you some quick suggestions for some of the books to read for the different prompts. Some of my books actually overlap categories, so that's good. And if you come to the library in person, we also have quite a few displays to help get you going. Like we've got books set in winter, we've got the mystery thriller, we've got cookbooks, we've got a couple of the nonfiction ones, all kind of laid out for you. So
And book lists.
that's
too.
true. That's true. So I'm going to do my first one, which is a book about family, and it's a new book. It just came out in January of 2025, and it is called What Happened to the McCraes. And this one is I would call it like a contemporary family story. It's also a story of a community. And the cover was beautiful. It was just kind of a snowy scene with a yellow house with black shutters on it. So that house was where high school sweethearts Kyle and Casey McCrae lived before he suddenly up and left town 2.5 years ago. And the story is set in Potsdam, New York, which has
Talking about
another
local.
lot of, Clarkson is there, Potsdam University, a lot of people in this area are familiar with it. So what happened to the McCraes that would make Kyle leave his wife that he adored for 16 years? So this is the whole premise of the book, is finding out what happened in this marriage, what happened to divide these two people and make them feel the way they do. But for Kyle, he is now living in, I believe it's Oregon, but he is called back suddenly because his father, a retired firefighter and is very involved in the Potsdam community, has had a stroke. And he needs help with physical therapy and other things, so Kyle decides to come home. And of course, the house where he lived with his wife is directly across the street from him, and she was the one that found his dad. Because even after their relationship ended, she continued to have this nurturing relationship with his father. So it's kind of, I don't know. I really was rooting for this couple to succeed because they were realistic. They were very relatable people. They're doing the best they can in not so great circumstances, but for Kyle to succeed, he's got to come to terms with his past and reconcile with the people that he left behind. He has an opportunity to reconnect with the community. He was a very good high school hockey player, and they need a middle school coach. So this is one way for him to get back in. And he also was a mechanic. He owned a garage, so and he works on people's cars and things. So there's a lot of ways that the community is just as involved as the family. I really love the setting. There were some other characters that I really liked. Like she had a brother that was disabled that he related to really well, that was into woodworking. I liked his dad. So, I really like this book. And I feel like it could be a couple of different categories, but definitely a good family story.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
It's new?
Yes, it is new. I actually read it because I got it from Book of the Month, so I got a little bit early.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've
I'll
already
look for
read
that
this one.
then.
So what's your first one?
Okay, my first one, I'm going to do a shout out for Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame. It's by Olivia Ford, and I know you read it as well quite a while ago. And this one can fall into a couple of categories too. We're going to go with set in another country because it's set in Britain.
Okay.
It could be a family story as well. And I'm just super in love with this book. I love the cover. It's warm and fuzzy and friendly, and that's the feel I still have from the book after reading it a little bit ago now, even though it came out in 2024. But it's basically the story of a woman named Jenny. She's 77, and she has a warm, loving relationship with her husband. They've been married 59 years. They never had any kids, but she has a great relationship with her niece, is it? And they're just settled into their ways. But one day, Jenny kind of shakes things up a little bit by secretly applying to be a contestant on the primetime show Britain Bakes.
Right, like I'm thinking.
Because I didn't tell you yet. Okay, Jenny is a huge baker. She has a couple of loves in her life. Her husband, the extended family, and then baking. It is just part of who she is and has been all of her life. So she secretly applies for this, and then that just kind of course, she gets accepted. She has to break the news, but she's secretly doing things until she breaks the news. And turns out she has another secret as well. And I don't want to tell too much.
Right,
It's just the characters are so endearing. And you get a little insight into what it's like to be older and embarking on some new adventure. And also what it's like to grow old with your partner.
Right. No, I really liked that one too. And I thought it was a little inspiring.
More than that, and it made me hungry.
Yes, definitely.
I wanted to bake after.
Yeah, my next one is it could also fall into the family category, but I called it a book from my to be read or TBR list. And this one was called Like Mother by Susan Reiger. It was published in 2024. And this was a book about 3 generations of very strong-willed women, unknowingly shaped by the secrets buried in their family's past. So I do love a good family secret, you know. So it's kind of a family story and a mystery a little bit, because it starts Detroit 1960. That's the other thing. It was kind of a different setting.
That's a good time.
Yes. Lila Pereira is 2 years old when her angry, abusive father has her mother committed to an asylum, and Lila never sees her mother again. Lila goes on to be in the pinnacle of American journalism. She is the executive editor of, they call it the Washington Globe. I was thinking the Washington Post. She very unapologetically prioritizes her career over like raising her children, and her husband is good with that until he isn't. So for the majority of the time, they had two girls very close together, and then they kind of had an oops baby a little bit later on. So that is the child that is Grace. She's the youngest daughter, and she feels completely abandoned by her mother. She wants her mother to attend PTA meetings and pick her up for school and not attend White House correspondent dinners. So the more she tries to break out from under her mom's shadow, the more she realizes she's very similar to her. She also goes into journalism. She ends up writing a book that's kind of a tell-all about her mother and really reflects a lot of the resentment she had. But yet she tries to focus in on the mystery of what happened to Lila's mother. You know, it would have been her grandmother. Did she die in that asylum? Because that's what they think happened to her. Or didn't she? And if she didn't, where is she and what happened to her? So that's the mystery of it, and I kind of enjoyed that. I thought Grace was a little whiny at times, and she got on my nerves, but I really enjoyed.
That shows the character was well developed, though.
Yes.
When they start getting under your skin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you definitely feel like you want to find out what happens, because after you're reading, you think, I don't think she died. I don't think she stayed in that institution. What happened here? So, yeah, it was very, very interesting. I liked it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Should I go next?
Yes.
Again? Okay. So my next one can fall into the category of biography. It could also go into nonfiction. It could also go into the category that doesn't exist, which is challenging a new genre for Anne Marie. So this came very heavily recommended by a patron. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. She really sold me on it.
Okay.
And I'm partially through it. Haven't read it all yet. It's brand new. It's The Elements of Marie Curie, How the Glow of Radium Lit a Path for Women in Science by Dava Sobel. And you know her name. She wrote Galileo's Daughter. She's a Nobel Prize finalist.
Okay.
Pulitzer, sorry.
Okay.
Anyhow, Marie Curie is maybe the one female scientist that many people can name. And she gained world renown at age 36. She received the first of her 2 Nobel Prizes.
Wow.
She's also the mother of a Nobel Prize winner and was married to a Nobel Prize winner.
Fun facts about Marie Curie.
Marie Curie. And so then 2 years later, she was suddenly a widow, 2 young children. She took over the lab where she was working with her husband and also took over his teaching position at the University of Paris. She became the first female professor ever to lecture there.
Wow.
There are a lot of firsts in this.
Okay.
And as I said, I haven't finished it, but I'm already blown away by all I didn't know about her and all the obstacles there were to women who were aspiring to get educated and to get employed, and she's amazing.
Particularly enter the like what was then considered a man's domain, like the world of science, mathematics. So
exactly, and it's still an obstacle too. So anyway, she has this lab that she is in charge of now, and she's teaching, and she started having women come seek her out, and they came from all over the world to be with her, and she was their mentor. Mm-hmm. So this is their story. It's about her and also the women that she mentored.
Oh, wow.
And their rise to fame. But it's going to be an exciting, like I said, challenging read. Chemistry is not my forte, but I really want to kind of break out and, get a little uncomfortable and read this one.
I think that's part of the fun of challenges. Is
That's
sometimes
exactly,
it's kind of like book clubs where it pushes you beyond your comfort zone, and oftentimes when you finish, you are really glad you went there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Just
So-
getting that little shove to do something different.
Right.
So,
My next one was also a biography kind of memoir, but I used it for the listen to an audiobook category, and that was Taste by Stanley Tucci. And it is read by the author.
Oh.
And
I
most
was
people.
going to ask you who narrated.
Yes.
Okay,
and
that's
it was,
interesting.
I really liked it. It was a good listen. I did it on a trip recently to visit my kids. But of course, Stanley Tucci is an award-winning actor. He describes himself as food obsessive, and he
Aren't we all?
yeah, well, not everybody, but most people.
I
But
am.
before he became a household name with The Devil Wears Prada, he was in The Hunger Games. He grew up in a small town outside of Westchester, New York, with a very Italian family. Mother cooked. And he talks about growing up and the things they ate for different reasons and different things. So you get a lot of reminiscing in this book. He also goes on to talk about he did a film that he also, I believe, wrote and directed called Big Night, which was a lot about food. And he was in Julie and Julia, he
Oh, I
played
love
Julia
that.
Child's husband.
Really?
Yes, he played Paul Childs. So food has been a very integral part of his life. One thing I did not realize when I started this book is that Tucci lost his first wife to cancer. He still had young children. So he navigated that. He eventually remarried Felicity Blunt, and then he got cancer himself. So this is kind of all part of this journey. So it's not just about food, but he does have a lot of specific good memories for him that involved food or food places. There are some recipes interspersed in which that would probably be good with the hard copy or the regular book versus the
right.
audio book
Right.
like I was doing. But I really enjoyed this one. So
It's interesting because you just made a little tie-in to Mrs. Quinn, that food and the story of their food and just that background, the
Right.
ties.
he also has a new book out that we have both in regular and express. It's What I Ate Every Day or something. I have not read that one yet. This was his previous book. And he's authored several cookbooks as
Oh,
well.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. My next one is going to fall into the category of short stories. Well, read a short story or novella. It could also fit into romance, I guess. So what I have is Jojo Moyes' Paris for One and Other Stories. It's not a new book. In fact, it came out back in 2016. But Jojo has a new book coming out in February, so there's a little tie-in there. Her book in February is We All Live Here. So this one I really like to recommend to people who want something shorter, easier, lighter, but still has substance to it. I really enjoyed this. The title story, Paris for One, is about a woman who has this dream trip planned with her boyfriend. And of course, he breaks up with her right before
they're
the
supposed to
trip.
go.
So she goes off on her own, and it really forces her to kind of come into her own, rediscover herself. We see a lot of that theme with a lot
Right.
of literature. But it was very fun as to just kind of watch her explore Paris by herself. And if memory serves, she falls in love while she's there. Of course, it's Paris. So, and then there's other stories. Again, there's 9 in the book, and they're very accessible. And if you just want something fun, especially like if you're traveling, I've recommended that to others before. So, and look for her new book,
Yeah.
because that'll be out during the challenge as well.
Right. She's a very popular author. The Me Before You, I think that was her biggest one to date.
Yeah. Well, The Giver of Stars just came out.
Yes. That
That's
was
been really
another popular
popular.
one.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a popular author. All right, I'm going to jump into history. So mine is called The Stone Witch of Florence by Anna Rash. This one was when I talked a few months ago for like a fall preview with Patty Utaro. This was one of her books that she was looking forward to. So I decided to read it, and it is set in 1348 Italy. So we are talking a very different time period than your typical post-World War II, historical drama. But it is when the Black Plague is ravaging Italy, and Ginevra di Gasparo is in Florence, and she is kind of a practicing witch, but she uses different gemstones for healing properties and fortune telling and other things, which I had not really heard of that. So that was kind of interesting. So she harnesses these hidden powers of stones. She can heal the sick, but when word spreads of her unusual abilities, of course, she was condemned as a witch and banished from Florence. But now the same men that expelled Ginevra are begging for her to return, and she obliges, thinking that they're looking for a cure-all for the plague or something. But when she gets to the city and meets with the bishop and the other people that have summoned her, she finds out that someone has been stealing their relics, like the saint's fingers or all these other weird little
Right.
things that they have.
The bits and pieces.
The people are panic-stricken because if their relics are gone, that's why they're thinking the plague is hitting them so hard or why they're entering bad luck. So they feel it's the city's only means for protection is to get these relics back. But what she soon realizes is that there's another plot afoot. Of course, political and drama amongst the people in the city and the hierarchy of the church to control the town. Not much has changed, I don't think, in the world of, what I mean, politics and intrigue.
People
But-
are people.
But she still agrees to go with this bargain of trying to figure out who is stealing these relics because they've told her that if she is successful in her quest, that she will be named as a recognized physician and never be accused of witchcraft again. So she will kind of maintain her status in society. So Ginevra makes some really big mistakes in her lifetime because when it starts, she's a young girl, she's at a convent, she's apprenticed to like a healer. Of course, she falls in love with a nobleman that she should not, you know what I mean? So she did make some really big mistakes, and at first she got on my nerves a little bit, but then it kind of redeemed itself to me. So it was interesting. I really liked the time period because it's not one that I read about often. So yeah,
And who's that by?
it was by
Somebody we know?
Anna Rash. I'm not sure if I've read anything by her before.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Patty was really looking forward to that one?
Yes, and it has it's one of those books that have, they've done the sprayed edges and different
so it's a
things.
pretty book.
Yeah, so like the book is art in itself.
Interesting.
So,
All right. Should we continue on? More?
how about you do one more?
One
yeah,
more.
do your. Oh well,
Ooh, which one?
yeah, do your teen one.
Oh, my
People
teen
don't
one.
talk about teen enough.
Okay. Here we go. All right. My next book is called Dry by Neil Schusterman and Jared Schusterman. Neil Schusterman is a very well-known author of teen literature, YA literature. And so this checks off the box of teen or tween book.
Yeah.
And I would say this is a challenging book for teens and for adults as well. I am kind of reading it with my, I don't know, fingers in front of my eyes because I don't want really to know what's happening.
Isn't this like a climate change?
This is a climate change book.
Yeah.
So we're in Southern California, and the drought has been going on for a very, very long time. And one day, the taps go dry. And it's about what happens after. And the protagonists are teens. It's how they and their family deal with the situation, because as you can imagine, no water, what do? You panic, and your neighbors panic, and the neighbors to them panic. Costco's swarmed. They're out of water, bottled water.
Right.
They're buying the ice because they want water. And it's just, and it also, the reason I guess I'm reading it with, not really wanting to know what's going to happen is just in light of current events.
Right.
With the fires. This book was written in 2018. So, kind of prophetic in ways, or just paying attention to the science and how things are moving. But I know, because I did peek ahead, because, again, dystopian fiction's a little out of my wheelhouse as well. Our teen protagonists do learn about trust and about making good choices, and they learn about human nature, and not all people are bad.
Okay.
So,
That sounds good. So hopefully we have given you some really good suggestions today to get you started on the challenge. You still have until the end of March. Thank you for joining us. And if you enjoy our podcast, leave us a review. It helps others find us. And we'd also like to hear your thoughts. If you've got suggestions for future themes or programs, let us know. You can always email us, or you could comment right on the Facebook or YouTube if you're watching us. So we're going to be talking about romance in February.
of course.
Yeah, trying to, or lack thereof, and maybe some roundups of our recent reads. So take care, stay warm, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Book Break is a production of the Greece Public Library, made possible through the support of the Friends of the Greece Public Library. Theme music composed and